So I want you to just imagine an existence where the simple act of thinking, just having an independent thought, is the worst crime you can possibly commit.
And not a world where you might be watched. No.
Right.
A world where you are watched. Every single moment, every action, even that tiny little flicker of emotion on your face is being monitored, it's being cataloged, and it could get you punished.
And then you couple that constant surveillance with an ideology so complete, so absolute that history changes daily. Language is, deliberately shrunk to destroy complex thought.
And truth isn't a fact. Truth is just. Whatever the rulers say it is on a Tuesday afternoon.
That's it. That is the architecture of terror that George Orwell built in 1984.
And it's arguably the single most important piece of political fiction ever written. And I think the reason is that the psychology of control it describes, it feels less and less like a distant dystopia.
Oh, absolutely. It feels more like an unnervingly accurate reflection of things we see today.
Exactly. Human behavior, power dynamics, it's all there.
And the sources you shared with us really confirm that. The book's power isn't just the plot, is it? It's that chilling feeling you get when you realize Orwell he nailed this eternal human weakness.
What is that weakness, though?
It's that desire for certainty, The fear of standing alone, that's what makes us so vulnerable to these systems of control.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to go beyond just telling the story of Winston and Julia.
Right.
We're going to use your sources to really analyze the meaning, the symbolism, the political psychology, and all those urgent hidden messages that Orwell was so desperate to get out into the world.
And before we even start that journey, let's just put the ending on the table right away.
Yeah.
Because the ultimate shock of the book, the true horror, it isn't the physical torture.
No, not at all. That's just a means to an end.
It's the spiritual assassination. It's the moment at the end of the novel where you realize Winston isn't just beaten into compliance. He is fundamentally changed.
Changed into a willing, loving, devoted subject of the very system that completely destroyed him.
Yeah. And that psychological victory.
Yeah.
That's the end game. And that's really what we're going to be exploring.
Okay, so to understand the warning, we have to understand the man. Let's unpack the architect of all this. Eric Arthur Blair, or as the world knows him, George Orwell.
This is absolutely essential. He was born in 1903, lived his early life between British-ruled India and England. But the really critical thing that people sometimes miss is his social standing.
He wasn't part of the elite.
Not even close. He was not a member of the ruling class, wasn't wealthy, didn't come from some politically connected family. He was, in a way, an outsider looking in.
And that is so crucial. It means his worldview, his deep skepticism of authority, it wasn't formed in a university common room. It was forged in, real, often pretty grim experiences.
He saw the world from the bottom up, not the top down.
Exactly.
And those experiences, being a colonial policeman in Burma, living in poverty, for down and out in Paris and London, fighting in Spain, they gave him this raw, unvarnished view of human suffering and, maybe more importantly, institutional hypocrisy. So these weren't just philosophical ideas for him.
No, these were lived realities. They cemented his deep distrust of powerful institutions, of ruling classes, no matter what ideology they claimed to represent.
And out of all those experiences, it seems like the Spanish Civil War was the real turning point, the one that really shaped the darkness we see in 1984.
Oh, without a doubt. He went to Spain in '36, full of idealism, ready to fight fascism. But what he saw there, it broke him.
It wasn't the enemy he was expecting.
No. He got a front row seat to the destructive power of propaganda and deceit on his own side. He watched as people who basically wanted the same things, idealists, were systematically betrayed, smeared, and even murdered by other factions.
Based on lies.
Based entirely on manufactured lies, mostly coming from the Soviet-backed Communist Party who wanted to consolidate control.
That must have been a complete collapse of his faith in the movement, to risk your life for a cause, only to find out the biggest threat is the corruption inside it.
It was shattering. He saw firsthand that the pursuit of power, even if it's in the name of the people or freedom, it just instantly corrupts. He learned that whoever controls the narrative, they control reality. He was wounded, had to escape a purge of his own allies. It was intense.
And that's the lesson he takes into 1984.
That is the foundational concept. That unchecked political power will always, always turn to lies, to terror, and to erasing history just to survive.
So Animal Farm was his first big swing at this idea.
It was, but it was very specific. Animal Farm was a direct allegory for the Soviet Union, for Stalinism. It was showing how a noble revolution gets hijacked by a new tyrannical class, the pigs.
But with 1984, the book we're talking about, he goes broader. This is the big one.
This is his magnum opus. It's his final comprehensive warning. It's not just about the left or communism or the right, like Nazism. It's a warning against the logic of absolute power itself. He stripped away all the labels to show the universal playbook that any government, any system can follow when it values control more than truth.
And the context of him writing it, I mean, that just adds this incredible layer of desperation to the whole thing. He was fighting tuberculosis.
He was literally dying. He finished the book on a remote Scottish island, often too sick to get out of bed, knowing this was probably the last thing he would ever write.
Wow.
And that urgency, the absolute bleakness of the ending, that reflects how seriously he took this message. He wasn't just writing a story. He was leaving a desperate warning about the future of human freedom.
So let's move from Orwell's mind into the world he built. Let's talk about the chilling logic of Oceania. So at the top, you have these three superstates, right? Oceania, Eurasia, and Eastasia.
Mm-hmm. And they're locked in this seemingly permanent, endless war.
Which is the first big trick.
It's a masterpiece of intentional futility.
Yeah.
The sources make it really clear the point of these superstates isn't to define territory. It's to define conflict. The borders are always shifting. The alliances are meaningless.
Right. Today we hate Eurasia. Tomorrow we've always hated Eastasia.
Exactly. And the actual fighting happens in these faraway places that nobody at home really cares about. The instability is the entire point.
So the war is the engine. It's the central mechanism for controlling everyone at home.
Precisely. The war isn't meant to be one. It's meant to be continuous. And sitting on top of all this manufactured chaos is the party and its face, Big Brother.
And this is such a key point. Big Brother, who is on every poster, whose name is everywhere, he's not a real person.
No, and he can't be. He is the ultimate psychological tool. He's not a man. He's an immortal symbol. A face that was meticulously designed to be the target for all the loyalty and all the fear of the entire population.
He's the father figure and the all-seeing judge at the same time.
Yes. It gives people a shortcut. It's hard to feel loyalty to a faceless bureaucracy like the party. But Big Brother, you can direct all your devotion and all your terror towards him.
He can never fail, never get old, never die.
He is the perfect mask for power, guaranteeing the party's permanence.
Okay, so then let's talk about the legal system, or more accurately, the terrifying lack of one.
This is one of the most chilling parts of the whole system. There are no real laws in Oceania.
Why not?
Because laws create boundaries. They implicitly tell you what you can do. If a law says, don't steal, it implies you have a right to own property. Oceania can't have that. It removes all boundaries, so there's no defined space where a citizen can feel free.
No laws, no rights. So instead of a rule book, you just have this one all-encompassing crime, thought crime.
And thought crime is the ultimate weapon of terror because it criminalizes your inner world. It's the independent idea, the critical thought, just questioning authority or even just doubting what you're told for a second.
And because you don't know where the line is.
You have to assume that everything you think is being monitored. The crime is the intention, even if you never say it out loud. If your face shows a flicker of doubt during the 2 minutes hate, or you just remember yesterday differently than the official record, you're guilty.
It forces people into this state of constant, exhausting self-censorship.
The only way to be safe is to completely give up your internal life to the party.
And the genius of it is how Orwell grounds this whole nightmare in a kind of disturbing normalcy. It's not a flashy, bombed-out ruin of a world.
Not at all. It's the horror of the ordinary. People go to work, they stand in line for their terrible food and their victory gin, they go to rallies. But, and this is the key distinction the sources make, they exist, but they don't live.
They're just cogs.
Functional cogs. All the real stuff of life, joy, real love, curiosity, individuality, it's all been systematically engineered out of their lives, leaving this gray, obedient, drone-like existence.
So if the telescreen is the hardware of control, the three slogans of the party are the mental software.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
They're carved on the Ministry of Truth, and they're not just contradictions, they're basically instructions for how to think or how not to think.
They are the philosophical pillars of the whole system.
Yeah.
And they're designed to just dismantle rational thought and replace it with, well, with whatever the state needs you to believe.
So let's break them down. Let's start with the big one, the one that makes the least sense on the surface. War is peace.
Okay, so on the most basic psychological level, the permanent war creates a kind of internal peace It keeps everyone scared and focused on an outside enemy.
If you think you're about to be annihilated by Eurasia, you're probably not going to question your own government's food rations.
Exactly. Obedience becomes survival. You're too busy hating the other side. But the sources you shared dig into the economic function, which is even more brilliant in a terrifying way.
It's not just a distraction.
No. The war is a massive, necessary economic drain. It consumes all the products of the economy, all the steel, the labor, the food, by constantly building these massive weapons and floating fortresses and then just destroying them.
Why is that distraction so important?
Because if the party allowed real material progress, people became comfortable and had surplus, two very dangerous things would happen.
Okay.
First, the massive inequalities in Oceania would become too obvious to ignore. And second, and this is the big one, people would get leisure time. They'd have the energy to think, to become informed, to become politically dangerous.
So by just pouring everything into this pointless war, the party guarantees stagnation. War creates stability by preventing any kind of progress that might threaten the hierarchy.
It keeps the masses poor, distracted, and dependent. The war is the most efficient tool for preventing prosperity because prosperity is dangerous.
Wow. Okay, slogan number 2. Freedom is slavery. This is a dark one. A real psychological inversion.
It's the party offering you a poison-laced security blanket. Their philosophy redefines freedom as a burden.
How so?
Well, they argue that true independence means you have to make choices, you have to accept consequences, take responsibility, face doubt. It's hard. It leads to suffering. So in their system, that kind of freedom is a form of slavery to your own weaknesses and failures.
And the alternative they offer is obedience.
Precisely. The party offers a deal. Give us your freedom, become a slave to the collective will, and we will take away the burden of thinking, of responsibility, of suffering.
Obedience is safety.
Obedience is liberation from the terrible weight of being an individual.
Chilling. And that brings us to the final and most cynical slogan. Ignorance is strength.
This is the core of it all. This is the engine that makes the whole thing run. The party understands one thing perfectly. Knowledge is power.
And if knowledge is power, then
knowledge creates doubt. If you know history, if you can think critically, you can see that the party is lying. And doubt is the seed of rebellion.
So the state has to make sure people are incapable of knowing anything.
Exactly. The less the population knows, the less they can remember or compare or analyze, the stronger the rulers become.
Ignorance creates a kind of unbreakable loyalty.
A blind loyalty. If you have no memory of the past, you have no standard to judge the present. The ignorance of the masses is the ultimate shield for the inner party, who know everything and consciously manipulate it. It's their greatest strength.
Okay, we set up the system. Now let's get into the human attempt to fight back, starting with our protagonist, Winston Smith. And the sources all point out he is not a traditional hero.
Not at all. And that's Orwell's deliberate choice. He's frail, he's middle-aged, he's sick, he's just filled with doubt and anxiety.
He's the last man, the average person.
Exactly. He's not going to lead some grand revolution. He represents that quiet internal rebellion, that little flicker of consciousness that knows something is wrong, even if fighting back seems completely futile.
And his struggle is so relatable because it's mostly fought inside his own head.
And the irony of his job. I mean, he works at the Ministry of Truth. He is literally a gear in the machine that destroys reality.
Right. He spends his days changing old newspaper articles so that the party is never wrong.
If the party predicted something 5 years ago and it didn't happen, Winston's job is to go back and rewrite the original prediction so it matches what actually occurred. He is an architect of the lie.
So his crime isn't what he does for a living, it's what he remembers.
That's his real rebellion, the simple, solitary act of memory. He's fighting the state's total control over his own consciousness because he remembers, or at least he tries to remember, what the world used to be like.
And that memory proves that there's a reality outside of what the party says.
And his attempt to hold on to that, to prove his own existence, is the diary.
The diary he keeps hidden.
It's a pure act of individualism. He's not writing it for anyone else. He's writing it for himself, to prove that he existed, that he had thoughts, that he knew 2 + 2 = 4, even if the whole world was screaming that it equals 5. It's the ultimate act of self-preservation.
And then you have Julia, who just explodes into the story. She's a complete contrast to Winston's intellectual, tormented rebellion.
Oh, she's the perfect foil. Winston is obsessed with the big questions. Why is the party doing this? What is the truth? Julia, she could not care less about that stuff.
She's completely pragmatic.
Her focus is on immediate physical experience, desire, life. She's the embodiment of the human soul's biological refusal to be turned into a machine.
So her rebellion it's about pleasure. It's about risk and sex, which the party is trying to stamp out or channel into hatred.
Right. She knows the system is too big to beat, so she just breaks the rules in private for her own gratification. She wears the sash of the anti-sex league, she shouts the slogans, but secretly, she's living her own life. Her rebellion is in the body, where Winston's is in the mind.
And their relationship in that little room above the antique shop, it becomes this fragile, doomed symbol of hope.
It's a moment of pure, dangerous humanity. Their love is subversive because it creates a loyalty that competes with Big Brother.
A personal connection the party doesn't control.
And that's the greatest threat to the state. Orwell knew this. Any deep bond they can't control is a weakness in their system.
Which is why the relationship was always going to be a trap.
Absolutely. The
Fair.
party can't allow any competing loyalties. Winston and Julia find happiness and trust, but that just makes it even more necessary for the party to destroy not just them, but their trust in each other. That mutual betrayal is the ultimate victory the system needs.
The real genius of Orwell's world is in the tools of control. They don't just target your body, they target your consciousness. Let's start with Newspeak.
Newspeak is maybe the most terrifying concept in the whole book, especially for anyone who loves language. Its mechanism is methodical reduction. Every single year, the vocabulary is actively shrunk.
The goal being to make unwanted thoughts literally impossible to have.
Exactly. Can you give us an example?
Sure, so instead of having a whole range of words like terrible, horrible, awful, dreadful, Newspeak just has ungood.
Right. And if something is really bad,
It's double plus and good.
by getting rid of all those synonyms and all that nuance, you're not just simplifying language, you're destroying the ability to think critically about why something is bad or the different ways it can be bad.
So if you erase the political concept of freedom from the dictionary,
The idea itself becomes unthinkable. It's a level of control that goes beyond censorship. It's about rewiring the human brain. The goal was that by 2050, the language would be so limited that even if you found a copy of the Declaration of Independence, you wouldn't have the words to understand what it was talking about.
so rebellion isn't just illegal, it's linguistically impossible.
Right. And that shrinking of language forces people into the necessary mental state to survive. Doublethink.
The art of controlled delusion, let's break that down.
Doublethink is being able to hold two completely contradictory beliefs in your mind at the same time and accept both of them.
So an example would be,
The war. You have to believe with all your heart that Oceania is at war with Eastasia and has always been at war with Eastasia, even if 5 minutes ago you were at a rally screaming hatred for Eurasia.
and you have to forget that you changed your memory.
You have to forget you forgot. It's this constant, exhausting mental gymnastics. It's what happens when the fear of questioning things becomes greater than your ability to process reality. You know the party is lying, but acknowledging the lie it's a death sentence.
So the mind just chooses self-deception to survive.
It's the ultimate psychological defense mechanism. You just accept whatever contradiction the party gives you today.
And the ones enforcing all this are the thought police. And they are not your typical cops.
No, they're much more insidious. They are the enforcers of psychological compliance. They don't wait for you to commit a crime. They're proactive. Their job is to find the crime before it even happens, just by watching you.
And what are they looking for? It's not just talking treason.
No, it's the tiny things. Not cheering loud enough at the 2 minutes hate, a frown at the wrong moment, what they call face crime, an expression of doubt. Even talking in your sleep could betray you.
The surveillance is total. The telescreens, the hidden mics, the spies.
It's everywhere. And the ultimate goal of all that surveillance isn't just to catch individuals. It's to destroy trust.
To atomize society.
Exactly. If you're afraid that your neighbor or your spouse or even your own children might report you for a thought, you can't organize, you can't conspire, you can't trust anyone.
And a society without trust cannot unite against a tyrant.
That is the entire aim of the thought police, to create a population of isolated, frightened individuals who are incapable of collective action.
And this brings us to the most devastating part of the book, and to the character Winston so foolishly saw as his savior, O'Brien.
Winston's fatal mistake.
Yeah.
He projects all his hope onto the sophisticated inner party member, believing he must be part of the secret resistance.
And O'Brien plays the part perfectly.
Oh, flawlessly. He's intelligent, he's calm, he seems to understand Winston completely. He validates all of Winston's most dangerous secret thoughts. He even gives him the book, the supposed manifesto of the resistance.
All just to earn his complete trust.
Complete and utter trust. But the most horrifying thing about O'Brien is that he's not just some brainwashed party fanatic.
No, he's the totalitarian intellectual. He believes in the system.
He serves the party not out of blind faith, but out of a cold, rational conviction. He tells Winston that objective reality doesn't exist. Reality is only in the mind of the powerful. If the party says 2 and 2 make 5, then they make 5.
His belief is that power isn't a means to an end. Power is the end.
Exactly. He's completely honest about it. He scoffs at the idea that the party seeks power for some greater good. He says the object of persecution is persecution. The object of torture is torture. The object of power is power.
He believes the party is God.
And his only purpose, once Winston is captured, is to break him. Not to get information, they already know everything, but to convert his soul.
A kind of pedagogical torture?
Yes, it's a methodical process of destroying every belief Winston ever held. They use starvation, beatings, electric shocks, endless interrogation, all to force him to not just say, but believe that the party's reality is the only reality.
But Winston holds on to one last thing, doesn't he? His love for Julia. He believes they can't get inside his heart.
That's the final barrier. Winston is essentially arguing that there's some inviolable core to the human spirit that the party can't touch. And O'Brien knows that for Winston, that core is anchored by his love and loyalty to Julia.
So that bond has to be destroyed.
It has to be obliterated. Which brings us to the personalized horror of Room 101.
The worst thing in the world.
Room 101 isn't a universal torture device. It contains your worst, deepest, most primal fear. The one thing you cannot withstand.
And for Winston, that's rats.
Specifically rats eating his face. And O'Brien brings that fear to life. He has a cage of starving rats ready to be strapped to Winston's head.
And in that moment of just pure animal terror,
his survival instinct completely overrides everything else. All his principles, his love, his loyalty, it all vanishes. And he screams the only words that can save him.
Do it to Julia, not me.
Do it to Julia. He completely betrays the only person he ever loved. He throws her to the wolves to save himself. And that act, that severing of the human bond, that is the party's final perfect victory. The soul is broken.
The ending of this book is just one of the most chilling in all of literature. Winston is released, but he isn't fixed. He's been remade.
Utterly remade. He's just this hollow shell sitting in the Chestnut Tree Cafe drinking gin. He's lost everything that made him Winston, his memory, his independent thought, his love for Julia.
When he sees her again, they both just admit they betrayed each other. There's nothing left.
Just a shared emotional vacancy. And then we get that final devastating line.
He loved Big Brother.
That's the ultimate message of totalitarianism.
Yeah.
It isn't satisfied with you just obeying. It demands your love. It needs you to adore your own oppression. They destroy your soul, and then they fill the void with devotion to the state.
It's a total psychological victory. So if Orwell wasn't just predicting the future, what was the real, timeless warning he was trying to leave us?
It was a warning about the patterns of power. Patterns that can show up anywhere, in any system, left, right, democratic, corporate. It doesn't matter.
He was identifying the universal tactics.
Yes, the surveillance, the fear, the propaganda, the destruction of language, the manipulation of emotion. These are tactics that get used whenever control becomes more important than truth.
And what's so terrifying is how familiar those patterns feel today. When people read 1984 now, they see echoes everywhere.
Let's talk about those echoes. The bulky telescreen Orwell imagined. I mean, we carry a far more powerful version in our pockets every day.
Ubiquitous personalized surveillance.
And it's not just governments, it's massive tech corporations collecting just an unbelievable amount of data on every search, every purchase, every conversation. That data is used to profile us, to influence our behavior. The thought police aren't men in black uniforms anymore, they're algorithms.
And what about doublethink? The ability to believe contradictory things at once. That feels almost normal in today's media landscape.
It does. You see it in polarized news cycles. People are often expected to just instantly adopt a new contradictory opinion when their side changes its position and just forget they ever believed the old thing.
It's driven by a fear of being socially punished for having the wrong opinion.
Exactly. And Newspeak, the simplification and weaponization of language.
We see that all over the place. Corporate jargon that removes meaning, a political discourse that reduces every complex issue to a simple binary. Good versus evil.
It removes all nuance and demands you pick a side emotionally, instantly.
And then there's social media, the constant loyalty tests, the structured hate rituals.
The 2 minutes hate. where everyone directs hysterical rage at a designated enemy. I mean, you see a version of that play out online every single day. And think about rewriting history. How many people delete old posts or change their old opinions to avoid getting canceled by today's digital mob?
It's a modern way of making sure your personal history complies with the present.
What's so amazing is that Orwell didn't predict the technology, the smartphone, the internet. He predicted the psychology.
He predicted the unchanging human desire for power, the fear of being an outsider, and the tendency for most people to just stay silent in the face of lies because it's the safer, easier path.
1984 isn't a roadmap to the future. It's a timeless mirror. And every generation that looks into it sees its own terrifying reflection. Hashtag outro.
This has been an incredible deep dive. I think we have to end by just crystallizing the core lessons that Orwell was so urgently trying to leave behind.
Okay. First and most important, objective truth matters. It exists. And even when it's dangerous to say so, you have to hold on to it. If you surrender your ability to define reality, you've surrendered everything.
Second, freedom isn't a default setting. It's fragile, and it often disappears quietly, usually behind promises of making you safer.
And, tying back to Newspeak, language shapes thought. If you let language be corrupted or destroyed, you are limiting the human capacity for critical thinking.
And fear. Fear is always the tyrant's best weapon.
Always. Violence only controls the body. Fear controls the mind, which is where the real battle is. But the final, most critical lesson is that the biggest danger isn't just the powerful people telling the lies.
No. The ultimate danger is the population. It's us when we accept the lie, or when we participate in the contradiction just because it's easier or safer than challenging it.
1984 is a painful but necessary book. Orwell wrote it not to predict the future, but to give us the tools to prevent it. It's a permanent call to be vigilant.
And that vigilance has to start with ourselves. So as you think about this, here's a final provocative thought to take with you. How often in your own life, at work, online, with friends, do you find yourself engaging in a small form of doublethink, accepting two things you know are contradictory, not because you believe them, but just to avoid the social or psychological cost of questioning the official story?